Good morning. It is Friday, March the 27th, and today we are going to be doing a crowded alleyway in Tokyo. It's a kind of a perspective drawing, but rather than using a lot of the tools that I show my introductory students, we're just going to kind of freehand this one without using vanishing point or horizon line. We're just going to kind of freehand this sucker. So make sure, again, you have a pencil, piece of paper. It can be plain, it can be white, it can be some copy paper, whatever you have. Pull it out right now, and we're going to get started. All right. First of all, I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Julia Blakely, Catherine Drumright, Haley Armstrong, and Grayson Slocum. They're all students in my art classes. Just want to wish you guys a happy birthday on this Friday. Hope you guys are having a good one. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Nico. Rihanna, how you doing? So we're going to use pretty much almost the entire page here, going from left to right. And we're just kind of freehand this sucker today. And what I want to do is I want to create a narrow alleyway as if we're in one of the crowded streets in Tokyo. So I'm going to create some really kind of almost claustrophobic angles here. And again, I'm using a distant grip, meaning I'm not holding it too closely to the tip of the pencil. I'm going to make these angles as placeholders for all the information of the buildings that I'm going to be creating. And again, I'm just freehanding this without kind of referencing a vanishing point or anything like that. I want to create a really kind of narrow and crowded street. Going to reference some angles here. I'm actually going to put kind of like an old school cobblestone in here. Not like small cobblestones, but large kind of, not flagstones, but, you know, large stones rather than small cobbles. Now, usually when I'm teaching my Art 1 kids, what I'm doing is I'm also showing them kind of like how to structure and use the idea of a vanishing point. And on this drawing, I'm not going to be doing that. So we're working left, right-hand side, angles up, angles down. We're going to put in some verticals here in the background, as well as here, to just kind of reference like buildings in the back. I want to make this feel really crowded, like a really narrow urban environment. Hi, Cynthia. Hi, Molly. Cole, how you doing? I want to remind you, if any of my students are on right now and watching, make sure you're uploading your assignments, anything that you've created over this shelter in place, that you upload and share those with me. Okay, so just to create that illusion, though, what we're going to do is all these angles here, the closer they get to the center of the page here, the narrower the angle. Further down we get towards the imaginary horizon line, the less severe of the angle that you're going to be creating, okay? So I'm just imagining that I have some roof lines here. Okay, some more things, more roof lines, more angles, okay? And these are just placeholders. And I'm just freehanding this. I'm not using a ruler. And as I get closer towards my point of view, I'm going to widen the space between some of these reference lines that are going to take up a big chunk of my sidewalk here for the cobblestones. Okay? All right. So right now what we have is kind of good reference points for buildings and stuff like that. And I'm making this seem really narrow already. Gonna kind of put this angle up here. I'm gonna pull a roof out, kind of like a little awning to make it even more claustrophobic. I hope. Hi, Maestra. So what we're going to do is just start filling this information in here, and I'm going to try and go slow here so that for those of you who are following can kind of reference and do what I'm doing. If you've never done a perspective drawing, that's okay. And I am using a reference photo for this drawing, but I'm actually changing a lot of it just to make it my own. As a practicing artist, I'm constantly encouraging my students to, yes, use reference photos, but you want to make significant changes to whatever you're using as a reference so that you are not taking anything away from the previous artist or photographer. There have been a lot of cases where artists have gotten into trouble, using copywritten material. And we want to stay away from doing that, okay? So I'm just putting in some random information over here, like roof lines. And because this is a one-point perspective drawing, our horizontals are going to be straight across from left to right, and our verticals are going to be straight up and down. The only angles we're going to be having are the ones coming towards us, towards our point of view, if that makes any sense, okay? Now, I'm going to put in some signage here and some roof lines of like some of the buildings, some of the little shops that I want to create. It's just... And it is Friday, folks. That's one. Goes there. Yes. Okay. In a lot of these shops, they're crammed on top of each other. These narrow kind of alleyways. Hey, Andre. How's it going, brother? Are you doing an art battle? You doing an art battle, man? I'm kind of curious. Because I got an invite from art battle, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it at the time allotted. Oh, Bianca. I'm going to create a sign over here. And a lot of these ramen shops, they put out little signs. Just like so. Hi, Bianca. Okay. Okay, so we're slowly building up information as we go along here. And we're gonna make this stuff back here. We're gonna do like telephone pole here. Some lines going across. Make it crowded. More telephone lines in the back. Make this look kind of claustrophobic. Going across. Yeah. Put a lantern right here. Going into the shop. Okay. We'll go over here. Put another sign up here. Let's just put a sign here. Like so. Maybe another vertical sign going this way. Straight down. Another big lantern, maybe right there. Yeah. We're slowly building our little neighborhood. This will be a door too as well. Going this way. Maybe we have a vertical pot that's going to hold like a little tree of some sort, a maple tree. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. So I'm just using a loose, distant grip here to hold like a maple tree. That's in public view. Just like so. Kind of like on the doorstep of this restaurant here. Window, right? An awning. Over here, maybe we have another awning. Okay. I'm gonna slow down a little bit. So what I'm gonna do right now is just kind of put some lines here on the lantern. Go through and erase. Oh, I'm getting there. I'm gonna add some leaves right now. So using a technique of just kind of outlining and blocking in areas here. Yeah. Yeah. Better? Mr. Beza. So our light source is actually going to be coming from up on the alleyway, you know, so. And real fast, we're going to, again, I'm just kind of referencing everything and sketching everything in. I will be going later into with more details and shading as we get further along. So I'm making this look like a really crowded area here. And I'm kind of keeping things kind of sketchy in the background. I don't want it to get too detailed. I want to keep things kind of loose. Things aren't necessarily perfect or in high focus when you're looking further down a street. So I want to kind of keep things sketchy. All right. Hello, Wesley. So I'm going to just quickly reference leaves on this little tree in the alleyway, just by shading them in for right now. And again, my light source is coming from up on the alleyway. Electrical lines. Further down the street. There we go. And again, that's what I get for trying to say what's up. Maybe there's a bike leaning against one of these buildings. That's a quick reference of a bike. Don't want to get too detailed. Now, before we start getting into a lot of the shading in detail, I'm going to start putting in some reference for cobblestone. And then these, on this side, we're going to have kind of a raised section of flagstones, creating a kind of a walk area between like the cobblestones and the buildings themselves. All right. Fine. Why not, Wesley? So, real fast, I'm going to use some random lines coming down here. I'm gonna break this up a little bit. And I want kind of uneven. I don't want them perfectly symmetrical. So I'm just gonna draw, and using these angles as a reference as to where my angles are going to be. You guys see that? Just gonna start laying down the shapes of some cobblestone. Yeah. Maybe some of these are bigger, some of them are smaller. Maybe the stone cutter was drunk on sake. Who knows, right? Hello, Ben. So again, the cobbles that are going to be closer to my point of view are going to be larger. The ones further away are going to be smaller. Okay. So again, I'm kind of preserving this edge here and this edge here, because what I want to do is keep these kind of separate, so if they're doing other things. Oh, there we go. I like that. There we go. Short, long, short, long. Okay. Keep this one nice and long, short, two little pieces, a little short one right here. Okay. Go long. And as I'm going through, I'm going to get rid of the lines I don't need. Ooh, I need that one. Don't want that one. Okay. Get rid of that. Again, these are just references, placeholders. And the further down I go towards the back, the less information I'm going to have that makes any sense. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to show some lines, some vertical and more horizontal lines to represent. Because the further away I go, the less distinct things are going to be. See that? It gives it that illusion that there's less detail further back. Okay. Have my sign here. Okay. Distant doorways. Boom, boom, boom. Now, I'll add some characters to some of these signs. And I'm just looking at some characters in the pictures that I have. I don't know katakana or kanji. So I'm just copying what I see. All right. Now, next thing I'm going to do, I'm gonna hang some curtains in here in the entryway of this restaurant. And I'm going to shade this out. Okay. Shading. Now, I'm gonna get a different pencil. That one's running out a little bit. Gonna add some shadow here. Again, going with like one direction, and then I'll go through and cross hatch that. And then I'll have this kind of go in the direction of the pot. Go through and give a little shadow to the tree. Okay. And I'm just kind of going through and refining some of this. I'm keeping it kind of loose though. All right. Adding more shadow to the foliage of this tree. And I'm using upward marks here because our light source is coming from down the street, and so what it's going to do is it's going to create kind of almost a silhouette of these leaves, but again, like pushing a lot of this up, a lot of the marks up. That looks kind of like a pine tree of some sort with needles going up. Okay. A little cast shadow behind it. There we go. All right. We have a lantern behind it, which I'm going to kind of indicate that we have back here. Again, creating more of an illusion back there of depth. Another doorway. Okay. All right, now I'm going to finish this guy up. Add in shadow here. tile. Okay. Same thing kind of over here with the tiles over on this side. Hi, Don. Hi, Kip. How you doing, buddy? So same thing here. Tile on top of this little storefront in this very crowded alleyway. Okay. Hi, Don. We'll put some katakana on here. In our little alleyway, there's a lot of different stores that are vying for customers' attentions. So I'm just adding shadow now to show also how kind of dark this alleyway is too as well. I'm going to finish up these guys, the shadows up here, so I don't have to go back and mess them up just by naturally smudging them with the back of my hand. It happens. It's fun creating texture and creating depth of field on the page like this. It is a lot of fun. I will not lie. Okay, same thing over here. And I'm using, again, like cross-hatching to get a lot of area shaded at once. And then I'll go in with a different direction or different stroke. And then I'll darken the areas that I want more detail. Use a different pencil. I'm constantly having to change pencils because then I lose a good point or a good angle when I'm shading here. It's good to have, when you're getting into the flow state of making artwork this way, it's good to have multiple pencils ready to go. Hey, Grishel. Hey, Palmer. Good morning, Grishel. All right, so before we get too crazy, I'm going to add a little cat sitting here lazily waiting for who knows. Make him a kind of a striped cat, yeah. And he's kind of got a ragged tail. Dude's lived a hard life. A little shading. Yeah. There's our cat. Chilling in the hood. All right. Filling in some information here on our little street market here. Some curtains. More curtains. Curtains are really designed to keep, unwanted pests, air pests out, but also, to bring a little color to the doorway. Cast shadow around our little cat. Hi, Lucy. Hi, Susan. Hi, Angela. So again, we're just building together we're building a little neighborhood in an alleyway in Tokyo. Whoa. Yeesh. Okay, we're coming along here. So next step, we're going to kind of define these cobblestones a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to do some heavier shading on one side of each cobblestone. And kind of round them a little bit, so not completely flat. guys see that? Yeah, here we go. And I'm trying to keep it organic. I don't necessarily want to do everything because I don't want to shade everything, because I also want kind of like the light to play over this a little bit. I'm going to put some depressions here too and break up some of these lines. I don't want it to be perfect, if that makes any sense. Makes a really cool neighborhood or a cool street is not its perfectly organized area, but also that the distressing that naturally happens through just everyday use. If that makes any sense. And I'm also going to add some heavier shadows here so that this is a little bit more elevated. That makes sense. I'm trying to create a threshold here. Same thing on this side too as well. Okay. So I'm just gonna go through now and kind of shade everything up now. And I have like a good, sorry about that. I have a good kind of sense of the look of my neighborhood. I'm gonna add some shadows here. I want to, again, keep it kind of a down low spot in the sense that it's a local spot, not necessarily a tourist destination. That's one thing I've learned that I appreciate now more than ever as a traveler are those areas that are not necessarily touristy. We were in Italy last summer, and the one thing that we were noticing, my wife and I were noticing, is the difference in the tone of the places that we loved about Italy that are being overrun now by tourism. Okay. How are we doing so far? Pretty good. Just gonna go through and shade a lot of these areas now. Clean them up. But don't get too, I don't want to get too finicky. Nor do I want to get too detailed. Couple signs. Looking pretty good. Go through and darken these. Put some texture in. All right. Now I'm also going to spend a little time. I'm going to put some puddles in here. Maybe some standing water. I'm going to pull some verticals down. That creates that illusion. See that? Thank you. some shading in here, darker in the back, a little bit less as we get closer to our point of view. Yeah, here we go. Back up to our lantern. Some hard lines here to describe the ribs, just on one side. Yeah. Shading on that side. Yeah, we're cooking. Some shadow on the cobbles. And I'm just going through quickly on one side. So if you are just joining us, we are doing a graphite drawing of a crowded alleyway or street in Tokyo. I've used a reference photo, but it doesn't look anything like what I've drawn. And it's a good reference just to show the amount of information in the street, the crowding of it. But again, I like making stuff up. References are good just as long as you're not copying it, literally copying it. Okay. You want to avoid that. Okay, I want to make some kind of fun distressed marks. Just going through and creating texture, cracks, etc. Reference like a curb. Okay. Yeah. And darkening some of these values. I'm using more of a closer grip on my pencil because I'm adding more pressure to the surface here. Oh, I hear my dog coming. Watch out, world. Going through and just darkening values. This doorway's over here. This guy over here too as well. I'm going to darken this really dark. I'm also going to go over here and darken these values too as well. I'm just going really fast. I tend to like over darkening certain things. All right. So there we are. We have a little neighborhood, a little street, crowded street or alleyway in Tokyo. And there's a lot of these cool little streets that you can use as a reference if you look them up. You know, they can be a cool inspiration for any young artist or anybody who's interested in creating kind of an intimate little street scene like this. So right now I'm just going through and kind of adding some more texture to my street. Got a kitty cat. Thank you very much for that idea, Wesley. Appreciate it. Wood grain. Okay. So I want to thank everybody for joining me today on Friday. We're going to continue doing these live draws every weekday at 11 o'clock on Russell Loves Art. That's my handle. If you did not have the opportunity to do this with me during the live, you can always log on to my YouTube page, which is linked in my bio, on my Instagram page at Russell Loves Art, and follow along on your own time. So once again, thank you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you guys next week at 11 o'clock. Thank you so much. God bless.